Welcome to the Apex Esports League Ferrari Series 488 Challenge. Tonight we have round 4 and we are off to Fuji Speedway for the Fuji GP. So tonight we have 2 sessions, so we'll be having 2 different races. We're about to head off into a 15-minute practice with weather of medium cloud, and then we'll have a qualifying session for 15 minutes with weather medium cloud, and then the first race for tonight is the sprint race with 10 laps, weather heavy cloud with no mandatory pit. We'll then have roughly a 7-minute break for the drivers in between sessions. Then we'll come back into the second session with a qualifying of 15 minutes with weather heavy cloud, and then into the main race for tonight with 20 laps, and the weather is heavy cloud to overcast, so it will cool off towards the back end of the race, and there is a mandatory pit for that race as well. Currently we have Gallon 350, who is leading the championship after the third round. He's sitting on 311 points. Closely behind we have Corby 387 in second position with 282 points, and then Bertie 1035 with 256 points sitting in position 3. So last week we had Sonoma Raceway GP for round 3. In the sprint race we saw Weaven 777 take the win, and he qualified in third position for that race. We saw a big battle between Corby 387 and Gallon 350, which saw them actually go off track, and then Weaven managed to secure a victory in that race because of that incident. And then in the second race we managed to see just about the exact same scenario again, with Weaven 777 taking the victory, so a double win for the third round at Sonoma. He qualified in 4th position and then claimed a victory. So it was some very good driving in that race and some very good performance done by Weaven 777. So it'll be very exciting to see how they go tonight as well. We have Weaven 777 sitting in 4th position in the championship. He did miss out on one of the rounds as well, as he was away for a week with our racing. So to see him sitting in 4th position, he's doing quite well with missing a round. So hopefully we could see him start to move up a little bit further on that ladder. So we'll bring up the track. So we are in Japan for the Fuji GP. The track length is 3.9 kilometers. There are 16 turns. There's a very good long front straight along that pit straight, and then some good technical corners, as well as some very fast sweeping bends. So we'll see a lot of passing possibly done in Sector 3 and Sector 1. There'll be a little bit of competition in Sector 2, as a lot of cars will probably find they'll be quite up to pace through there, so it should be a lot of side-by-side action going along into Sector 2. And then the game hopefully should load up quite quickly. It is a little bit slower at the moment. And then the weather is medium cloud and the game time is running 9 o'clock, so there will be cooler track temperatures. And it is custom setups for this series as well, so drivers can modify their cars. However, the 488 Challenge cars of the game only has soft slicks for the tyres. I think we may be having a game issue at the moment. Well, no, it just was a very long load. Haven't seen one take that long to load for quite some time. Hopefully we don't have any technical issues tonight. We have had that a couple of times with things freezing out. And we do have a new driver to Apex Esports League tonight. So we have Whacked Will 3. He's debuting with Apex Esports League. And I think from what the guys were saying, he's been doing some driving with the other drivers that race with us regularly. He's just getting into all the sim racing, so it'll be great to have him aboard with all our drivers. And if you do ever want to actually compete in any of our events, we do take drivers of any skill level, and we do have a very good friendly group of drivers. All the drivers you see in our series are very helpful and always eager to lend a hand. We do encourage you to head over, and you can always join in just on our follow our Facebook page as well, and feel free to start a discussion about sim racing, and then I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that'll be able to answer any questions you may have to try and help you with your lap times, with a variety of cars and even different game formats as well. There's a lot of our drivers not only just use project cars too on the PS4, they have a set of Corsa, Gran Turismo Sport, and then also a lot of PC varieties as well. And there is a prize up for grabs for the winner of this championship as well. So I have once before given out a cup for, let's say, a coffee mug anyway, with Apex Esports League champion on it. And I actually went to Rapworks Austral, and that was for the Porsche Cayman GT4 series. That was not broadcast. I did do some test broadcasting at that stage, as I was actually competing in that series myself. So that cup is back on the cards for the winner, and our current championship leader, Gallon 350, is very eager to get his hands onto it. There is a possibility he may not be able to make the final round next week, so we need to see Gallon qualify quite strongly and then also finish in a very strong position if he wants to try and get those points ahead, as there is big points up for grab in that final round. So a pole position and a victory, we'll see 140 points just out of that final round. Weaving 777, our double winner from last week's round. Car's doing quite well. In our LMP 900, we did have this track, I think we were racing at as well, I cannot remember. Actually no, I think that was the one that is the replica of Tsukuba Circuit. The first times on the board, Birdie 1035 coming in with a 154. Zero coming in with a 140, 197. So I'll have a look at some statistics. So far for our series leader, Gallon 350, he's averaging 52 points per race. We have Psychogency averaging 55 points per race. And Weaving 777 averaging 56 points per race. That is a little bit varied because of them not actually making it to each individual race. So they're attended less. Oh, a little bit wild for a zero there. Not sure what was going on. There was a lot of fighting this thing. It may have been a latency issue. So having Psychogency and Weaving not making so many races but finishing strongly has put that average points up a fair bit for it. And we've had Gallon 350 take 4 pole positions. His average qualifying position's third. He's had 1 race win, 1 second place, 2 thirds, and an average race position of third as well. So some very strong results for Gallon. And some pretty consistent times coming across the board. So a zero currently with the quickest time, 140, 197. And then Bertie 1035 with a 143.04. And then not much difference between our first three, so 0.306 is the difference of time between our first 3 drivers. And then we have Gallon coming in with a 146.38. Corby is in the 141s. Over to Psycho in his very identifiable car in the fluoro colours with the Tiger. He's come through with a 143. Also in the 143s is Mr. D-Train Barbado. If you've been watching us on the Tuesday night streams for the V8 Supercar Bathurst Challenge, Mr. D-Train Barbado was crowned the champion for the series. So he conquered the mountain and came through wearing the crown for that series. So very well done to D-Train for that victory. And we had Darksider, who was leading that championship but could not make it for the final round. However, missing out on that final round, he only was pushed down to third position for the championship. So some very strong results for him, considering he lost out on scoring those big points for the final round. Introvert Wheelie's car's showing a bit of front end damage as a buckled bonnet, and that front bar is quite damaged. Okay, and we shall be able to identify ourselves with our new driver, Whacked Will. It's in the very fancy pattern black and white Ferrari. Times are starting to increase. Improve should be the better word for it. So 139.580, and that's a 0 again, still holding the quickest. Overshot that corner. It should be a very interesting race on Fuji GP with 10 cars out on the track. Drivers doing reasonably well, not exceeding track limits. So we've only had Corby and Mersey Blue have their laps invalidated. We'll jump on board and see how the track actually is. I'll jump on with our fastest driver at the moment. Driver's having a little bit of an issue with that technical corner. It's a bit of a strange hairpin. And Gallen's just come through with the quickest time. And there's some very odd cambers through some of the corners as well, through these more faster turns. You do have to be cautious of ensuring that the car is putting down track. You can see a little bit of confusion as they come onto that one. The track is covered off with the witches' hats. There's just over 4.5 minutes remaining of practice, and some beautiful scenery are following around here with Mount Fuji obviously off in the distance. It is a very beautiful location for a racetrack. We've had Birdie come in and steal in between here, so we'll get to stay on board with a 0 for a hot lap with him. I think this will see him improve his time. A little bit off pace. So quite quick here, down quite hard on the brakes to pull it up for this hairpin. A nice line we'll see you be able to get on the throttle quite quickly as you start exiting out of that hairpin. A little bit of a cut through there. So just feathering it through on that bend, so a little bit off camber. That car got into a slide going in there a little bit quick. That back end started to slide around. Zero may need to look at adjusting some of his rear downforce for the car. And then heavy on the brakes here for this other hairpin. So it's almost a double hairpin. And then flat foot straight out of here. And this is a big broad slide. So you lose sight over the crest of that corner. And depending on their field of view settings, that corner, you cannot see where that apex actually is as they're going through. So you could see a Zero having to recorrect that a couple of times through. I don't think that's going to be a quicker time for him. But 139 is a very nice time. I think we should be able to see 138s, 137s. So for our first 8 is only 3.5 seconds difference. So it's very tight for time-wise out there amongst the field. But we're struggling for that car just a little bit at the moment. He's brought that into the pits. We'll see how Whacked Wheels handling the Ferrari. We're starting out in a series. These cars are actually quite nice to drive. They handle rather well. However, the custom setups will put him at a slight disadvantage with not being able to have tested too much with the car. However, you can share setups between the drivers. Generally, through most of our series, everyone's always been more than happy to share a setup. It doesn't always give an advantage by a setup, as it is very personal. So it depends on your driving style for a good portion of it. And things looking good for our series leader. Coming in with the quickest time so far, but Bertie 10:35 is not far behind him at all. 0.162 difference. Bertie's going to be definitely some competition for him. And Bertie is sitting in third position with 256 points on the championship board. And Gallen is on 311. Not too far off. But Corby 387 with only being just under 30 points, so 29 points difference. Gallen needs to at least finish much stronger than what Corby is if he's not going to be able to make it to next week's round for the final. Safety car drivers brought their cars back into the pits. 10 seconds remain for practice, and then we'll be heading off into a 15-minute qualifier. Weather conditions will remain the same, so weather is medium cloud. However, game time will be 10 o'clock. So that being an extra hour has progressed since the game time for this session. Track temps will have increased just marginally. We should be able to see them push a little bit more out of the cars. And drivers now on last laps with just under 30 seconds to complete them. Bertie flying through there rather quickly. On the brakes, navigates this very nice line. And time is up for practice. And then we have Gallen 350 taking in the fastest time in practice, so 1:31.140. Looking very exciting for times through the first 8 drivers being very close. Hopefully Vert, Wheeler and Wacht will manage to be able to close those times in a little bit more in the qualifying. So we'll head over into that now. Drivers will probably be swapping over to qualifying setups at the moment. We'll hear a few revs as the cars change settings. Who have we got heading out first? I think that's Corby. The sprint race last week we had Corby qualify for pole position, and then Gallon in second and Weaven 777 in third. All drivers just about out. We're just waiting on Bertie and Wacht Wheel to head out onto the track. Bertie's now out. Wacht Wheel is possibly setting up himself a setup for qualifying. Yeah, some very close times, Giddo. I think we may see potentially a repeat on last week's round with Corby and Gallon, with some fierce competition and battling going on. As you can now see, it is a little bit brighter out on the track now that the daytime has progressed. The game time actually progresses at 2 times speed, so a 15-minute session will simulate 30 minutes of daylight movement. And I think we should see definitely into the 8-second marks for the qualifying session, since we saw the 9s. It's good to hear. I was hoping it'd be quite handy to use for our app, and even for people who don't race as well, just to be able to catch the broadcast and get notifications. I've been tinkering with it for quite a while. As we do have some drivers that don't have Facebook, so it makes it a little bit harder to know what's going on without it. And it looks a little bit slippery out there still at the moment with cold tyres. D-Train also fighting that car through that bend. You saw Gallon just go through doing pretty much the same thing. Colby's brought the car into the pits. He may have binned it, I'm not sure what's going on. The race feed isn't letting me know if anyone's gone off, so it hasn't progressed through from the practice session, unfortunately. First laps, pretty consistent. First 4 in the 140s. And then D-Train and Mersey Blue with 142s. And 1:43 respectively. Oh, the Mersey Blue up over that ripple strip had managed to spear that car off track. That'll invalidate his lap most likely, or at least give him a slowdown, which won't be beneficial to him for his lap. However, not